Hey guys, today I'm going to do a quick description and unboxing of a diesel air heater that I just picked up. Now this is the second diesel air heater that I've bought. The first one went into our TC2000 bus, and if you want the quick should I buy one or should I not buy one, I'm a huge fan of these diesel air heaters. We've had ours in that bus for just over a year and we've used it quite a bit, and I'm extremely happy with it, especially compared to people that have wood stoves or propane heaters in their bus. I think it's a lot easier to live with, and for the money you just can't beat it. So this one I just got a couple of days ago while we were out of town, and I've opened the box enough to make sure that I'm not surprised by the contents. On the first one I was a bit surprised when I opened it up expecting to make a video on how to assemble it and found it didn't come with any instructions at all. So this one does come with instructions, but I'm not actually going to put it together today, but I will go over what I know about them with the contents that are in here. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I've already torn through the tape, so we'll be skipping that part. Most of them will have this fuel tank that comes with it. That's a 10-liter tank, and it's nothing special, it's just plastic. And we used ours for a little while before we tapped into our main diesel fuel tank, and it was fine. 10 liters would last us maybe 2 days, 2.5 days before we'd have to fill it up again. So this has some hardware inside, which is going to be a nipple that you drill a hole in the bottom of the tank for and run a fuel line to it. It definitely does not come ready to use out of the box. Here we have the instruction manual, which is full of Chinglish and poor translation or otherwise just silly things to read. Maybe we'll go over this a little bit later. This plate is a plate that goes between the heater and whatever you're mounting it to. Helps to protect it from heat, also gives you kind of a stencil for where you need to put holes to run things. And here we have a big styrofoam chunk. And I believe this will be the heater itself. And it sure is. So this is the actual heater. And just for reference, this is the 5 kilowatt version, which is roughly 17,000 BTU worth of heat. And we also have the muffler. Our first kit we bought, we didn't buy a kit that came with the muffler and ended up buying the muffler and another section of exhaust pipe separately. I do really recommend that you get a kit with the muffler. Here we have the fuel pump. Another thing we didn't get with our original kit was the wireless remote. It basically gives you the ability to turn the unit on or off without having to go and press a button. It doesn't give you temperature control or anything like that on the remote, it's just on and off. But I still think it's something useful to have. And here is the control module. There are a few different options for the control module. This one is the one that's programmable, so you're able to change a few things, like for example, this one will allow you to set a target temperature. It's only in Celsius, but that's better than only being able to control the flow rate. It has other features that you can do with it as well, but the real important one is the actual temperature control. You can also customize your minimum and maximum flow rates for the fuel and the fan. So of the options, this seems to be the best. There's another one that is the same button layout but a slightly swoopier looking enclosure for it that gives you the same thing. And we have another cardboard box here, which is not very heavy. Go ahead and crack this guy open. This is the vent hose for the heat output, and there's a vent register that you put on the end of that. This is the air intake hose. This is the exhaust pipe, which is flexible. We've got a whole bunch of parts in here. This is the air filter. We've got all the screws for mounting things. This is the fuel filter here. A lot of people will tell you that the fuel filter isn't very good. I've found that it's just fine. If it doesn't leak, it's such a simple design that that's the only reason you would ever really want to swap it out with another unit, is if it leaked. And we've got your wiring harness, and we've got fuel line, and this again is fuel line from the other side of the filter, I suppose. So essentially, I'm not actually going to install that in this video, but I'll give you the rundown of how everything goes. You would have a clamp that holds the output side on, and this is stretchy tube, so when you actually go to use it, crinkle it out. And the exhaust and intake lines, the ports are different sizes, so that only fits one way on here. We've got air intake and exhaust. Some plastic stuck on here for whatever reason. It's like peeling the film off of a new phone. Air filter. Now when you're looking at these online, there's a few things that I've learned. First off, there are three sizes. There's a 2 kilowatt, the 5 kilowatt, which is what I have, and an 8 kilowatt. And some folks, when they've purchased the 2 kilowatt, have actually gotten the 5 kilowatt unit just tuned down for only producing 2 kilowatt worth of heat. And that is one of the things you're able to do with this small, or with this LCD controller, is tune how much heat it's putting out at minimum and maximum, and then it just ramps up between the two. So I found in some situations the minimum amount of heat that it produces while running is actually more heat than I would want, and I've found sometimes I have to open a window a little bit to keep things from getting too warm, even though we're just running essentially the idle level. But you're able to turn that down through the advanced settings menu to produce a little bit less heat. Essentially, when they ship these and tune them for the 2 kilowatt tune, they just lower that maximum so it doesn't ramp up as high as it could. The downside being the 5 kilowatt version is physically larger than the 2 kilowatt version. So if you buy one based on the dimensions of needing it to fit in a given space, you might end up with a unit that doesn't fit. Another thing that I've noticed is, for the most part, it doesn't matter which brand you buy. What it's going to come down to is the accessories that are included in the kit. Not all of them come with a muffler. Not all of them come with this control module. There's 4 or 5 different control modules. Not all of them come with the plastic fuel tank. Not all of them come with an air filter. And they have different output side configurations. Some will have a splitter that comes off of here that goes to 2 vents. Beyond that, I think there's a version with a aluminum casing instead of plastic, and there's different colors available. Like I said, the sizes can be different, but even that doesn't necessarily guarantee you're getting a specific physical model. I'm assuming that the same situation with the 5 kilowatts being shipped for people who order 2 kilowatt units might also happen, where you might try and order a 5 kilowatt and actually get the physical 8 kilowatt unit just tuned for 5, although I can't say I've actually seen that. So this is the first time I've actually looked at it outside of the package. Has your voltage information on the side. It's 12 volt, 40 watt is what they claim. In practice, when this is running, there's 3 stages to it. There's the startup phase, where it's running a glow plug to start the ignition process. While that's running, it takes quite a bit of power, as much as like 10 amps. And that's for a short period of time just to get things going, and that glow plug turns off after the combustion has started. After that, you have your fan on the back here, which is pulling air going over the hot metal of the outside of the combustion area and blowing it out here. That doesn't take a whole lot of power. That's probably where that 40 watt is actually being measured. It's probably lower than that most of the time, where these will ramp up when they need to build up temperature, and then they end up spending a lot of their time at their idle setting, just maintaining combustion, being ready to go the next time it needs to actually produce a substantial amount of heat. Beyond that, the power for the fuel pump is pretty minimum. This is just a little bitty guy. These do tick as they run, and you want to make sure that you soft mount these so that they're insulated from the structure of your bus or RV or whatever you're putting it into, so that it doesn't just send noise in. Now, other than that, let's talk about my experiences with the diesel air heater. Like I said up front, I've been very happy with heating our bus with the diesel air heater. You can't really beat the price of it. They vary from around $110 to maybe $200 or so on Amazon, based on the accessories that come into it and what name brand sticker they put on the side. They do have both 12 volt and 24 volt versions of these, although I haven't verified that they actually are different other than the sticker. It's possible that it may operate on either of those voltages, but that's not something that I've tested, so definitely not claiming that to be the case, just that it's possible. Like I said, they have color options and the 3 different output ranges. Now, I found 5 kilowatt was more than enough to heat our 32-foot TC2000 bus, but we're also very well insulated. We have spray foam insulation in the ceiling and walls and rigid XPS foam underneath the floor, so we're one of the more well insulated buses that you're going to see. With that that said, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes we'd have to crack a window because it would get too hot just running at the idle level. Beyond that, like I was saying, it doesn't seem like the brand really matters. I believe these are made by one, maybe two different companies in China, and they're just wholesaled to whoever wants to put a name on it and sell it. The first one, as I mentioned, didn't even include a manual. This one does include a manual with poor English and not much in the way of photos, but they do have some diagrams. If you can ignore the language and just look at the pictures, you'll be doing okay. Alright, I'm just going to interject a little bit on the reasons why we went with the diesel air heater and our experiences with it compared to folks that use other methods of heating. Now, when we started our school bus journey, we had a Mr. Heater Buddy, which is a pretty popular little propane unit, and we had a couple of problems with that. First one being a small propane can wouldn't last you through the night, so you'd have to wake up maybe 6 hours after you started it up to add another can. It was really using a lot of fuel, and outside of that, it was also producing a lot of humidity into the enclosed area of the bus, which is one of the exhaust parts of burning propane. You're doing all of that combustion inside your living space, and you'd have all the exhaust causing not just the humidity, but also adding carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide into the air, removing oxygen. So you would end up needing to leave a window or a couple of windows cracked just to have enough ventilation to keep from actually dying, but also you'd be just dumping moisture into the air. So that was something that we wanted to get away from as soon as possible. We also had an issue where the units themselves would fail over time. We bought a replacement one maybe 6 months into our school bus journey, and that one lasted another 6 months or so before it started to fail as well. So that didn't really work out for us. I know there's some other propane type heaters that work a little better, but the Buddy heater is really, really popular, and what we had personal experience with. Another one that we see a lot of people do is a wood stove, and in a lot of ways I really like the wood stove idea. Some of them you use them for double duty, where they act as a cooktop in addition to providing heat for the living area, and I think they're really nice looking. I like the whole campfire style they have to them. It's a really nice looking romantic source of heat, but again, you're going to end up waking up once, maybe twice overnight to add more fuel to it. In addition to that, you're going to be carrying a type of fuel that you only use for your heat, being wood. You probably already have propane for your stove, you probably already have propane for your water heater, and you definitely have diesel for running your engine, but when you start to have to carry wood to keep warm, that's another type of fuel that you didn't need before. So that's probably the two biggest problems I have with each of those types of heaters. The diesel heater, a huge advantage to that, especially with this particular control module, is being able to set your target temperature, hit go, and just go to sleep or go do whatever, and it's a set it and forget it type of deal. It'll go ahead and maintain that temperature without you having to worry about adding logs or changing the air intake settings like you would potentially on a wood stove, or turning the knob or what have you on something like a Buddy heater or some of the other propane choices. So it really makes the whole process easier. Feeding off of your primary fuel tank is really convenient, and they're pretty darn efficient. 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons a day on really cold days has been my experience. Not having any sort of wood burning smell inside the area is really nice. All the combustion happens inside the unit, the intake and exhaust are both piped to the outside of your living area, so you don't get any sort of burning smell, and it's not pulling your breathable air from the inside to turn it into something else. So again, I'm a huge fan of these. This is my second one. I put my money where my mouth is after owning a couple different types of heaters, and this was the obvious choice for me. So, all right, back to it. So, I guess that is it for the initial unboxing and description of this guy. I'm going to leave a link down below for anybody who's interested in picking one up. I'll continue this series when I get to actually installing it into our new bus, like you can see in the background there, and give you some more information about it then. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more like it, make sure to hit subscribe. If you've got any questions or comments, go ahead and put them down below, and we will do our best to answer them. So, thanks guys. Thanks for watching.